Hello, today I'd like to talk about sort of the elements of horror or creating a method for horror games because one of the things I've found is it's really hard to create a good horror game. I mean, certainly there's some great ones on the market, and then there's some that are not, super great, and I'm just trying to think if there is some way to, come up with a method or a toolbox or something to creating an interesting, scary horror game. And certainly I don't have any concrete ideas. This is just something I'm, formulating. But, if you have ideas, you can post them in the comments or on the Infinitap Games forum where we have a pretty great community. But, I guess, to take a step back, there are some things you have in your toolbox that are pretty obvious and pretty common. So the first element is the jump scare. Basically some sort of surprising, thing that people don't expect, and some people really like them. Some people aren't as fond of them. Personally, I like them. I think, when done well, they can be really, really put you on edge. And I mean, when done poorly, they're like nothing. So I think they're worth doing. Even though I guess maybe not overdoing, because again, some people don't really enjoy them. But I guess maybe they just don't enjoy the not well done ones. And I think if you do them too frequently, then they sort of lose their effect. For example, if you walk into a room and then a plate falls off the wall or a book falls out in every room you walk in, or, those are particularly common examples. Although I guess we're guilty of the plate falling thing. I don't know. I don't know if that was our best decision ever. I don't know if I want to cut it or something. But anyway, that's getting off topic. But the other thing is enemies, and enemies are very interesting. Obviously, they provide some sort of threat and some sort of tension. I think it would be very difficult to do a horror game without enemies. Maybe it could be done. I don't know. It seems hard. I think to some extent, the best sort of enemies in horror games would be the ones that, are perceived as a threat, things that you seem like you can't escape from, but that you sort of barely do. And certainly there's the whole, fighting and difficulty in combat, but I'm of the camp that, keeping that to a minimum is probably a good thing, just because I think that then you have to balance, action elements and horror, whereas I would like to just focus on simple mechanics and just be concerned with the horror. Which, I love Silent Hill, and they do combat, but I don't think the combat is really what anyone likes about Silent Hill. It's pretty clunky, which, arguably could be deliberate. I don't know, but I certainly don't think it, is the appeal to the Silent Hill series. But, enemy design is really tough, and making something threatening that doesn't quite kill you is a challenge. So certainly that's another tool, and then of course atmosphere is a very important tool, creating a good atmosphere. But that in and of itself is also a challenge, similar to enemy design. Is how do you make something sort of scary? And certainly we've done a lot with audio. And I think our art style helps in this regard for Neverending Nightmares. And you know, like Silent Hill, they have the fog, and the other world's crazy industrial chains and metal. I think those really help create the atmosphere. And you know, there's Outlast is set in an asylum and things like that. Are ways to get atmosphere. But I mean, beyond that, it's hard to break down sort of the elements. And I mean, you know, like enemies, you could have any sort of type of enemies, and you can have any enemy encounter you dream of, and it's tough to say exactly what elements are, you know, what sort of building blocks, what things you can have in your toolbox. So I think it might be worthwhile, sort of as a discussion, hopefully this will prompt a discussion, is to, you know, talk about your favorite moment in a horror game and say why you really liked it, and why that was really effective. And boy, I didn't really plan on asking this exactly, and I don't know if I have a moment that I can think of. I mean, because to me, you know, the Silent Hill games are definitely my favorite, and I mean, I guess there's some moments in you know, Fatal Frame 1, very early on, there's a couple jump scares which like really set the mood for me, and they did some really clever things with the camera angles, and so, you know, I mean, even though it's just like, oh, a ghost is walking by, it was like, very, very tense for me. So I guess those are some moments I can think of, and you know, perhaps we should do more of those, you know, ghost walking by sort of things in Neverending Nightmares. I mean, it's a little bit challenging with our camera angles, especially because everything has to be very close to the player. But anyway, I mean, just because it doesn't work for our game doesn't mean that it's not a good idea. And I guess, you know, Silent Hill, the atmosphere is sort of what's most striking to me, and I can't really pick out a point where, you know, the atmosphere was at its best, but I'm sure someone else can, and I'm sure I will give it more thought. So anyway, I guess let's discuss offline, and that's sort of all I have for the moment. So thanks for watching.